What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cav show. We got UFC 264. I cannot wait. Obviously, McGregor, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, UFC superstars we've ever seen. Yes, since Chuck Liddell back in the day, back in 07, 08 era. But to me, I'm telling you what right now, love or hate McGregor, yes, his accomplishments are amazing, right? From being a plumber to all the way up to this year being the highest paid athlete. That's crazy, right? Anything's possible, right? I mean, it's amazing to me, but a lot of people are saying, well, McGregor lost it. And I was kind of one of those people where the hunger looks like it might be gone. It looks like the hunger's not there for McGregor anymore. I just don't know. Obviously, he's coming into this fight as the underdog, which, well, he should be the underdog, right? Because Poirier knocked him out back in January. It may kind of embarrass McGregor. And I think, people, especially fighters out there, they have to get humbled somehow. Even the great Mike Tyson went 37-0, and after his 37th fight, he lost, got knocked out a couple times towards the end of his career and got humbled. He lost to Lennox Lewis and got humbled. So I think it's really good to see fighters taken out. Yeah, for real. They learn from it, and I think, McGregor, when he's never lost two fights in a row. So to me, I'm rolling with Conor McGregor. I'm rolling with him. I think he's going to knock Dustin Poirier out, just like he did back in 2014. I think it's kind of going to go similar. I think what McGregor needs to do, instead of, he likes to come in fast, right? I think McGregor really needs to just slow it down the first couple rounds. Go for the knockout later in the rounds. I think McGregor, his past couple fights, he's always want that KO so quickly because we've seen it in the past, against Aldo when he knocked him out in like 11 seconds, which was crazy, right? But McGregor, he's 22-5 in the UFC. To me, not really. His past couple fights haven't been that great. Yes, he beat Cowboy. Obviously lost to Khabib back in 2018. I think McGregor definitely does want a rematch with Khabib. He even said he's going to give a trilogy match with Nate Diaz, which I cannot wait to see. I think Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor is going to might be one of the biggest UFC events that we'll see in the future. That's coming up in the future, but I think whoever wins the McGregor-Poirier fight is going to fight Charles, the champion right now. It's going to be great, but, a lot of people roll with Dustin, and it makes sense. He's 26, 27, 6-1, his UFC record. He's on a two-fight win streak. Before the two-fight win streak, he lost to Khabib. And McGregor, he likes to talk smack and sell the records. But from Dana White, from this UFC 264, he said this is the most pre-buys ever in the fight card history in the UFC. So people have been wanting to sell out, wanting to see McGregor. And I think, it's McGregor's personality, his ability to talk trash and really just back it up. And I think, McGregor, he needs to be careful here in this fight, and I'm really starting to see the old McGregor kind of, showing up at these conferences, talking whatever he wants to say, just like he did in the past when he became a two-time belt champion. So in different weight classes, right? First time ever doing that in UFC. To me, this is going to be great. A lot of celebrities. They even said Donald Trump's invited to the UFC 264 this weekend in Las Vegas. I think it's going to be epic. I really do. I think McGregor, he's built for this. He's built for this, and we've seen it. Obviously, he took an L against Nate Diaz, back in, I believe it was 2016. And that was a huge fight at UFC 196. And then he comes back and beats Nate Diaz at 202 for a quick rematch, kind of like this one, right? Fought Poirier back in January. Now he's fighting him months later, coming up. So I can't wait, really. And it makes sense. McGregor's plus 110 underdog. These odds might change leading up to this fight, depending on who's going to throw a lot of bread in Vegas. I expect to see a lot of people, especially a lot of millionaires out in Vegas right now, throwing heavy bread on McGregor. Because, when McGregor comes in as an underdog, it's great, right? Because you get all that hype. McGregor, I think he wants to be an underdog. He likes being that underdog, that villain role. To saying, you know what, people will tell me I can't do this, can't do that. Well, I did it. And a lot of people are to even tell McGregor, why fight anymore? Why risk it? And I think, McGregor even said it, it's really for the love of the sport. He's not a celebrity. Even though people think he's a celebrity, he's a fighter. He bounces heads off the canvas and bounces and collects the check. That's what McGregor does. And to me, and this is the Conor McGregor that I want to see. I want to see the old McGregor come back. After the Mayweather fight, we kind of saw, a little bit of arrogance from McGregor saying, you know what, I don't need to take training camp serious. I don't need to do certain things. I can drink during training camp. I can drink my proper 12. All this extra stuff. And I think this camp that McGregor's going in is why I'm rolling with McGregor is, he has no distractions here. No more excuses. His family's elsewhere, so he's focusing in on Conor McGregor and his mental aspect of this game. And I think, McGregor, all he needs to worry about, obviously, is leg kicks, but don't let Dustin Poirier take you down. Had some words, but I think if McGregor keeps it on the feet the whole time, a true mixed martial artist, as it should be, I think I like McGregor here. And it's crazy. I can see why Vegas is going on Dustin Poirier as a favorite. He's the number one contender. So whoever wins this fight is going to fight for the belt. But to me, Dana even said if McGregor retains the belt, he'll be one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. And I would agree. We have a lot of people, differences here and there saying, well, people like Daniel Cormier is better than McGregor. That's absolutely bullcrap, okay? Daniel Cormier, the same guy who got embarrassed by John Jones multiple times. This not take nothing away from DC. He's a champion, heavyweight champion. He will be in the UFC Hall of Famer. But to the sport, Conor McGregor's done way more than the sport than Daniel Cormier. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's be real here, okay? Now, I do think John Jones eventually needs to get that fight against Francis Ngannou. That has to happen. I don't know what's going on with the business. Something fishy's going on. I don't know if it's greed or whatever, but that fight needs to happen. But what McGregor's done for the UFC, it's bigger than Ronda Rousey, right? We saw Ronda Rousey come up, and her spurt was really a couple years, and that's that. After the Holly Holm fight, she fell off and then got KO'd by Amanda Nunes, a.k.a. the greatest woman fighter in UFC history that I've ever seen. To me, that was that for Ronda Rousey. But Ronda really impacted the sport, though. But from McGregor's aspect, dude, he just impacts it 10 times bigger. Draws more numbers. If we're talking money here, he's pulling in way more money than any other UFC fighter out there. So it's just like for Dana White in the UFC company, it makes sense. It makes sense to have McGregor come back. And I think if McGregor's really going to take it serious for the next 5 to 10 years, or he's talking like he wants to stay in the sport a long time, obviously he's going to be a billionaire within 3 years by he's 35. 35-year-old billionaire? That's crazy. That's unheard of, right? Anything's possible, though. But for McGregor, going to be a billionaire by 35, that is crazy to me. But has it got to him? Has the hunger got away from McGregor? And I even said, if McGregor loses his fight, I think he should retire, but that's kind of far stretched. I do believe we'll see Nate Diaz, like I said, the trilogy matchup. But to me, it's just like one of the things with McGregor. Are we going to see the old McGregor, the hungry McGregor, the McGregor where he's really going to knock you out? If you come close, he's going to hit you with that left, and you're going to go to sleep. It's all timing for him. So I think McGregor needs to come in and do it smart. And I don't think he needs to be in a hurry because the past couple fights, McGregor's really been in a hurry, a rush to knock him out. And we've seen McGregor's weaknesses as he gasses out later in fights. So to me, McGregor needs to do this smart. This is a 5-round fight. It's not a championship fight, but it's 5 rounds. So I think McGregor needs to come in and really utilize his energy. In the first round, hit him with a couple big shots. I would say, McGregor, throw some leg kicks. Throw a lot more leg kicks. Do what you started here in the UFC, dude. What got you here? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's the left, but, mixing it up. The leg kicks, the elbows. The everything in general with McGregor, you got to mix it up. But to me, I'm going with McGregor with the upset here. I am. I just think it makes sense. It's strong the numbers here. Now, obviously, yes, I thought McGregor was going to beat Poirier back in January. I was dead wrong. He got embarrassed and got knocked out. People made memes, made fun of McGregor. But it's funny, right? People online, we can make fun of McGregor. But at the end of the day, McGregor driving a better car than most people, right? Has a bigger house than most people. It's going to be a billionaire by 35. Yet a lot of these people online talking crap, are working a regular 9-to-5 job, working for somebody else. McGregor's not, dude. McGregor's going to be a billionaire. So I think it's not for the money anymore for McGregor here in the UFC. If it was, he doesn't need to, right? Sold some of his stake in Proper 12 over $600 million, made $180 million this year. Like, come on. I don't think it's for the money. I think it's for the love and what got McGregor here. From being a plumber to starting from the bottom, collecting welfare checks to to, UFC and taking it over. Really taking it over. And a lot of the celebrities like McGregor. But, I think the open media, they look at McGregor as a celebrity and not a fighter. And I like how McGregor said that. And that's really what made me roll with McGregor this weekend is him saying really, hey, look, I'm not a celebrity. I'm a fighter. I'm a real fighter. This is what I do for a living. I bounce people's heads off the canvas, and I collect a check, then I bounce. I'm gone. So that makes sense for me. So I cannot wait. Then we got Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson, a.k.a. Wonder Boy. This is going to be a great fight as well. This is really a coin flip. I think Gilbert Burns wins this fight if he takes it to the ground. Now, if he can't take Wonder Boy down, it's going to be a long night for Gilbert. I see Gilbert getting KO'd, honestly. We're talking Wonder Boy here. He's taller. He's got more length in him. So I think, for Wonder Boy, it's really keep your distance. Wonder Boy 16-4-1 in the UFC. Gilbert Burns 19-4. He was on a 6-fight win streak until his recent fight against Usman, a.k.a. the champion right now. So to me, it's just like 19-4. He's a great fighter. But I think, obviously Gilbert, he's going to be favorite. But for Wonder Boy, what does he have to do to win? What's the underdog have to do? Obviously, don't let him take you down. It's easier said than done, right? And I really think he needs to use his length and his ability to really utilize his leg kicks. Wonder Boy needs to throw a lot of leg kicks, mix it up, throw some jabs in between. Maybe even take him down. But I think Wonder Boy, if he keeps it on the feet, and stays up the whole time, I think he takes this fight. I really do. I like this upset. Now, if Burns, takes him down and utilizes the ground and pound, obviously he's going to win this fight. It really boils down to those two factors. But I think Wonder Boy, if he wins, dude, he might need to get in the contention of a title shot here. Straight up. So, he's on a 2-fight win streak. Obviously lost to Hill and Woodley, and then he drawed Woodley on the first fight, but that was years ago. But to me, it's one of them things where Wonder Boy, you got to keep your distance. Don't let him rough you up, put you in against the cage, maul you, really, take you down, and utilize the ground and pound. So, Wonder Boy, you got to keep the fight standing. He wins if he keeps the fight standing. If you guys are throwing bread on this, obviously Burns is definitely the favorite. But, I would say with the upset here, really, though, I like the upset here. I like Wonder Boy. I like him with the KO, maybe a leg kick. Something crazy, right? This is the UFC. This is as real as it gets, bro. This isn't boxing. This is crazy, dude. You can throw knees. You can anything, dude. Imagine getting a leg kick to the calf, dude, not being able to really utilize your agility that much. And that's what happened to McGregor in the second fight against Poirier. Utilize that. So, to me, the hits add up. They really do. And we can sit here and say, oh, those body punches don't add up. Yes, they do. A couple of liver shots, a couple rounds in, you go into the 4th round and you've been hitting the liver 10 times. Those start to add up. You start to slow down. You're breathing more heavy. So when you get punched in the face, you're not closed mouth and your jaw's just open. So those hits start to add up, bro. It's crazy to me, but I like Wonder Boy with the upset. I really do. And then we got Greg Hardy, yes, the former NFL player. He's fighting. To me, this is crazy. He's 7-3-1. Obviously, he got knocked out his last fight, his most recent fight. And the guy he's fighting is no joke. He's favorite. He's 12-3. Atia, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's no joke. Obviously, he's favorite. A lot of people need to roll with him, but Greg Hardy, I like his mental ability, what he says at the press conferences, all this. But to me, Greg Hardy, if he's a true mixed martial artist, he needs to win this fight. He needs to win this fight. He needs to strike with them, and I think he needs to stand up with them. Now, I'm not saying Greg Hardy can't wrestle. Yes, I'd say, meat-wise, I would say Greg Hardy might be a little bit fatter, chubbier, is what I'm saying. So I wouldn't be surprised, if I'm Greg Hardy, maybe try to take him down a couple times. Utilize the ground and pound. And that's what I want to see Greg Hardy do. But to me, it's hard to really pick this fight. I would love to see former NFL player Greg Hardy do it. I really would. I like the upset, but I'm going with the favorite here. But I'm rooting for Greg Hardy all the way. Then we got Sean O'Malley versus Chris. Chris, this is his UFC debut. He's 9-4. Sean, a.k.a. Sugar, he's definitely heavy favorite. He's 13-1 in UFC. He lost his last fight to elbows. Was not good, but you get humbled in the UFC. Any fight game, you're going to get humbled. Obviously, unless you're Floyd Money Mayweather and never lose. But to me, Sean, he kind of looks like McGregor-esque, right? A lot more skinnier, 135 weight class. To me, I think, obviously I got to go with Sean here. I got to go with the favorite. Now, this cat, he's fighting Chris. This is his UFC debut. So to me, what bigger debut in the UFC to get on the main card of Conor McGregor's card? I mean, if you're in the UFC and you're a fighter and you're on one of the main cards, dude, you gotta be blessed. You gotta feel privileged. Really though, I'm straight up, and I understand you're definitely a heavy underdog, but you always have a puncher's chance. You do, and to me, we don't know much about Chris, but to me, he could go for a takedown, utilize that, control Sean. Sean doesn't want to go on the mat. Okay, he wants to stand with you, throw some crazy leg kicks, hit you with a couple jabs. To me, I think Sean's strengths are definitely leg kicks. So I expect Sean to really dance in there, bounce around, and get a KO. That's what I expect Sean to do, a.k.a. Sugar. I expect him to do that. So I'm rolling with Sean here. He's on a win streak. I mean, leading up to obviously losing his last fight, but he was undefeated till then. But to me, he's young, though. That's the thing. He's got so much time more in the UFC, and I cannot wait. But I'm going with the heavy favorite, Sean. But obviously, this is going to pull numbers because you got Conor McGregor. And I think a lot of people hate on McGregor because, he gets all the attention, right? He gets all the main money, the cash cow, for instance. And I think a lot of the UFC champions today that are relevant really kind of rub McGregor off the wrong way, right? They just don't like him for some reason. I don't know if it's because of jealousy, because Conor has different materialistic things in his life. But to me, I even saw, the hunger might be gone for McGregor. It might be out the window. But to me, I think the ambition, the love of the sport makes sense that McGregor's back. Because if McGregor didn't love the sport and just did it all strictly for the money, okay? And a lot of people think he just does it strictly for the money, but if that was the case, why would he fight now? You know what I'm saying? Why would he even fight? Why would he retire after he beat Cowboy? You know what I'm saying? If the money wasn't the issue, which is not for McGregor, why fight? And a lot of people here in America were saying the same thing, hey, I would retire. And if I couldn't really speak for McGregor because I'm not that rich like McGregor, but, if I was, maybe I would be like, you know what, I'm not going to risk my life for this. I'm not going to risk, dementia, maybe a broken, you never know. It's UFC. Anything can break, dude. You're taking a chance of death there. Realistically, you can get hit in the temple and die. You just never know. So to me, it's definitely a risk, but I think McGregor really does love the sport. I really do, and that's scary, right? I think if McGregor wins this fight by spectacular fashion, by knockout, I really do believe, hey, McGregor, if he retains the belt, a lot of people are going to hate it, but, at the same time, McGregor, he's one of them guys, he's a businessman as well, to where, he's going to branch off and maybe fight a couple boxers. He might fight Mayweather. He's still got the Diaz rematch. Yeah, I would love to see him rematch McGregor or even fight Pacquiao, which I think that's a long shot now. Or fight one of these YouTube guys. You know what I'm saying? To me, it makes sense, right? I just feel like that's what McGregor could do. But to me, what UFC guys really taking the risk of going into boxing like McGregor did against Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Who did that? No other UFC fighter did this. So, I mean, obviously Ben Askren, but come on, dude. Ben Askren's not a boxer, dude. He's a wrestler, dude. Wrestling background since day one. He could not strike in the UFC. So what made you think he was going to box good? That made no sense to me. It was just really a money play. 100%. But to me, for the UFC and Conor McGregor and Dana White, what McGregor's been through the last couple years, all the allegations against him, all this other stuff, right? This is going to pull in numbers, though. It really is. I don't know if it's going to pull in the numbers that they're trying to hype it up. What Dana, the pre-buys ever, the biggest pre-buys right now. A lot of celebrities are going to be there. Who knows? The ex-president, Donald Trump, might even be there. That'll be epic, right? If Trump's there, UFC's higher than Bright. McGregor's back, and I think it's great for the sport. But I really do believe, I don't think McGregor's bigger than the UFC. I think that would be ignorant, right? For any athlete to say, I'm bigger than the sport, that would be really ignorant. And I think, eventually you will get humbled. And I think really that's probably the best thing what happened for McGregor's get knocked out by Poirier. Because let's say he knocked him out the second time, and let's say this fight was against Diaz. And he's over here saying, you know what, the UFC needs me more than I need the UFC. I think that would be ignorant. I really do. But I do think the UFC does need McGregor in a way right now. I do. He's the main attraction. He's pulling the biggest numbers. If we're talking numbers, it makes sense. It adds up business-wise. Hey, Dana White is still his right-hand man, and Conor. It is, dude. And so many people hate it. But, hey, hate or love McGregor, he changed the game, the UFC game forever. Even the fighting game, mixed martial arts game, he changed it forever. But we cannot forget the ones that paved the path for McGregor to get there, like Chuck Liddell, like Tito Ortiz, like Randy Couture, the legends, Rampage Jackson, Forrest Griffin, all those legends, dude, paved the way. Royce Gracie paved the way for McGregor to get where he's at right now. Now, I'm not saying McGregor, yes, he busted his balls for sure, but I'm saying those guys back in the 80s, 90s, in early 2000s, up until this point, 20 years later, 30 years later now, look where it's come from. They were the superstars back then. Chuck Liddell, he was on Sports Illustrated, but he wasn't pulling in the numbers that McGregor's doing, right? Yeah, I'm talking dollar bills here. He wasn't. But to me, McGregor realizes, look, dude, I'm only 32, about to be 33. I'm still in my prime. I could fight a good 5 years left in the UFC. It sounds crazy. But I think if McGregor wins by knockout in spectacular fashion, I think, look, the sky's the limit again. Who's to say McGregor cannot retain the 2 belts? And to me, like Dana White said, he'll be one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. But a lot of UFC cats, the insiders, are picking Dustin Poirier. Here's why. He seems to be more focused, which I don't understand at that point, right? Because I think McGregor's really focused on this point. He's back to the old McGregor, talking smack, really good training camp, all that, training, cardio, everything. But a lot of the insiders are going Poirier because he's just, right now, looks like a better striker. He did it in the January fight. Just all that stuff adds up. So a lot of the insiders, they're going with Poirier. And he's favorite for a reason. He's the number 1 contender right now in the world in that class. So to me, it does make sense. But like I said, I'm rolling with McGregor. I am. I got to. I got to roll with McGregor. It just makes sense. In another upset in the women's division, I'm going Yana. She's 14-5-1. She's fighting Irene, who was favorite. She's 12-6. But she the last 2 fights she lost to Holly Holm her last fight. To me, which was not a great fight. But I think Yana, she's on a 2-fight win streak. She's a striker. I think, that's another upset. I like a dog in that fight. So I'm going with Yana. I like her, the striker. But like I said, back to McGregor. I'm rolling with McGregor here. To the big bettors out in Vegas, the line's probably going to switch, an hour, 2 hours up leading up into that fight. Because a lot of people are going to, switch their bets. Instead of throwing $1 million on Poirier, they're going to be like, man, McGregor's the underdog. I'm going to throw $1 million on him. I am. Let's go back to UFC 196 against Diaz. McGregor was heavy favorite. Diaz was a huge dog. Just imagine you were like, I'm going to throw it on the dog. It got the upset. So to me, I could see a lot of people in Vegas throwing $1 million or $2 million on McGregor. These odds, you can easily get 2-1 on it. So maybe even 3-1 if you're lucky. But to me, I love McGregor here. I do. I just think the old McGregor's back, baby, and I got him with the knockout, maybe even a leg kick knockout, baby. I cannot wait. It's UFC 264. It's the Cloud with Cap show. Let's go!